Oh my god. I'm gonna be out here forever. Oh, this tasting burnt. Fuck. I don't have any more coils. That sucks. This fucking amulet quest sucks so bad. I killed like 20 of these stupid fucking alligators. I mean, at least I'm getting leather, I guess. This one's gonna level me. What? These resisted 2 things back to back. No, please let me find it. Oh, please. Oh my god. Oh, I'm so I wanna see. God damn it. Better go to the bathroom. This quest hates me. God damn it, those keep looking like quest items. God, I'm losing my shit here. I've had to kill way more of these than I wanted to. None of like these just aren't even giving me loot. Like what the fuck? Oh my god. I'm just not gonna instantly loot this one. I'll let it sit there for a minute. What the fuck? This shit hates me. This game hates me. I gotta go to the bathroom really bad. Get somewhere safe. Okay. back to this bullshit. Please, I just want to be done with this quest. I've wasted so much time. I think I've spent like damn near an hour on this. And got nowhere fast. What the fuck? Holy shit. What the fuck? I'm so fucking pissed off. I want to at least at like 14 tonight. Come on. God damn it. Son of a bitch. Shit's just making me fucking angry as hell, dude. Tired of listening to this music too. Whoops. About to listen to one of my podcasts. I don't know if you can stream it, but I don't care.
They do a good job of like not spoiling stuff in the chapter titles, but I will say when I read the book, I make sure that I never look at the table of contents because I don't want to know anything. I'm so opposed to spoilers. I don't want to see anything at all.
I used to be a little jerk. I would read the last page of the book.
Wow.
Nothing else, just the last page, no other context, just like whatever the last page was. And then I'd like try and guess everything throughout the book.
Well, so far, the last pages haven't been that great.
I know, right? They're like, Hermione figured it out. Anyway.
Voldemort says that Harry has to bow before they duel. And Harry's like, fuck that, I'm not bowing to you. And then Voldemort goes like, bow, and it forces him to bow. It's like, geez, Voldemort, calm down.
Harry wasn't being
God damn it.
He wasn't following the dueling rules.
Yeah, obviously. So then he's like,
The dueling rules.
And then he goes, and now we duel, and like does a surprise thing and like hits him with an attack as he says go. So like this whole thing is about fighting like a man and honor. And then he's like, sneak attack, bitch. It's like, fuck you, Voldemort, come on.
Face me like a man, you 13-year-old boy.
It's too true. It's way too true.
Yeah, and then he's like, fuck you. Anyway, so
use the little sneak attack. I wrote in my notes, all caps, are you serious? You have to resort to cheap shit. You are Satan. Give the kid a break. So the spells that he used was a Cruciatus curse again. And while he's doing it, then he stops. And then he's like, do you want me to stop, Harry? And then Harry doesn't say anything because he's a badass 13-year-old. I let you take glory in this shit. So Voldemort hits him with Imperio. But Harry, as we've seen before, resists it because he's
God damn it.
Yeah, 'cause he's like, nope, can't get me.
So Harry hide behind his head.
Wish I'd counted.
Like a man.
Like a pussy.
Like a man.
while Voldemort still talks smack, and then Harry's like, you know what? I'm not gonna die like a coward. So he gets up and he tries to use Expelliarmus. He's like, I'm gonna die like a man. So he uses Expelliarmus. Voldemort uses Avada Kedavra, and I'm like, shouldn't Avada Kedavra be stronger? It shouldn't be like, nope, one kills people, one makes your wand fly away. I wonder which one is gonna win, but they're equal apparently. So
only because the wands have matching cores.
Thank God.
Both made from a phoenix feather.
The same one, and then you find out that feather's important. So the spells meet in midair, and it causes each of their wands to shake and vibrate. Harry and Voldemort get lifted off the ground and then move like multiple yards. I was super pissed because this didn't happen in the movie.
No.
The movie's version of this duel blows. Because basically, I had seen the movie before reading this book.
Sure.
I'm the worst human.
You jagweed.
It was in my sister's continual desire to try to get me to read this books is that she'd be like, come on, watch the movies, you'll like it. And I did like the first three, and I loved this one. Well, it was at this point where I was like, Megan, I'm not reading these books, and she like had to go to it. Gotta love my sister. Shout out to her. And shout out to baby niece, who is not even a year old and is one of my Patreon supporters.
Oh,
it's so good. I got a little email that's like,
having the financial funds to support your uncle.
yeah, I was like, damn, Meg, like she's got
You're
like
most successful than he'll ever
I was gonna say she's got like more allowance than we ever had growing up. And then my sister and I had like an hour-long text message conversation, like talking about how our mother would not give us allowance, but would like make us do chores in order to like be able to do stuff. It was great trip down memory lane.
Yeah, that's what we did too. Builds character.
Yeah. So anyway, shout out to Meg.
Shout out to moms. Shout out to your sister. Shout out to your sister, baby. Anyway.
Basically, I had seen the movie. I remember this duel being like not that cool. So then after I read this, I was like reading it. I was like, this is the coolest shit ever. So then I watched it on YouTube after I finished the book. It's so lame. It's so bad. It's like 5 seconds long. The ghost people that come out of the wand don't even look that cool. They're very quickly like, there's no dramatic thing. They just get out and right away Harry's dad is like, run like a bitch, get out of here.
They blew all their budget on the first 3 tasks for the movie, and then they're like, oh, but we have this really climactic fight with Voldemort. Here's $12.
I was super upset about it. They didn't get lifted off the ground, which I just really wanted to see the dynamics of how that worked. So Voldemort yells at the Death Eaters. He's like, do nothing unless I command you. Like, I want to do this. This is my fight. But you can tell that he's shocked at what is happening.
Yeah.
So Harry hears a Phoenix song, which at first you're like, what does this mean? Is revealed later. So then a voice tells him not to give up. And you don't know what that is, but you learn later. So Harry's wand...
Harry's schizophrenic.
Yeah, Harry's a crazy person. Harry's wand starts shaking like crazy, and the bead, which is the point at which the two spells are meeting, is moving closer and closer to Harry. And it gets like just up to his wand, and then Harry tries like super hard, and it slowly pushes it back, slowly but surely, all the way until it hits Voldemort's wand, which is
through the power of concentration and suggestion.
so good. So what happens is that his wand starts like sparking and all this crazy stuff. And basically, first, the ghost hand of Peter Pettigrew comes out. And you're like, whoa, that's kind of weird.
Spooky.
Then a grayish head and torso of Hedrick comes out. And Cedric's like, hold on, Harry. And you're like, oh shit, it's about to be like everyone that got murdered. So then Frank comes out. And Frank comes out and he's like, I guess he really was an evil wizard. It's like, Frank,
You're
not
like,
the time to play.
You're like, are you kidding me? You're just realizing this now.
So then Bertha comes out, and they all start like circling the duel. And then James Potter emerges.
Yeah.
And then Lily also comes out. So
you're like, what? And at first I was confused because it's like it gets explained that it's like the ghosts that are coming out were the first to emerge were the most recent that he's killed. And so yeah, it makes sense. The ghost hand, and then Peter Pettigrew, and then Cedric Diggory, etc., etc. Because it was funny because only like 5 or 6 people come out. And I was like, well, Voldemort hasn't really killed a lot of people. And then I remembered that he's been like dead, half dead for like 13 years.
My similar thought to that was like, why? How does the wand know to stop at the Potters? Like the wand is just like, oh, okay, they're his parents. We're not gonna like. I'm sure he's killed hundreds of other people before the Potters.
I know. I'm like, for the most powerful wizard ever, you haven't really killed that many people.
Like, ooh, critical count only 5.
And then I was like, oh no, but there was a ton before the Potters.
Yeah, I just thought it was funny that it stopped at the thematic one. That
We don't need any more ghosts. It'd be a ghost party if we had that one.
Exactly. So Lily goes over and tells him to get to the port key. Way better than in the movie where it's James Lane.
Come on.
my body back to my parents?
Hey, I know you're kind of busy right now.
I know
but
you're
just
kinda
have
busy
one
not
more
dying.
favor. You kind of got me killed. Can you do this one thing for me?
I know I'm much larger than you, but can you bring my body back to my parents?
I know I'm an 18-year-old man, but
Please.
you.
I just want some closure. So Harry then pulls his wand away. The spirits close upon Voldemort so that he can't see what's going on. Harry runs away, dodges some stun spells of the Death Eaters that are thrown his way, grabs Cedric's body.
With like a broken leg, mind you.
Oh, feats of strength. Grabs the body, can't get to the portkey, so he accios it to him, snags it, and gets out of there just before Voldemort murks him. And it's chapter 35, Veritaserum.
Ooh,
So,
that's a crazy chapter.
so many things happen, and in the movie, sucked.
You know,
So bad.
they did a lot of really great things.
Yeah, like
They did a lot of things really well. So
they're doing fine.
Hey, moving on.
Harry lands back, confused, and he's still shook about what went down. Dumbledore's crouched over him, Fudge is also there, and everyone starts flipping out that Cedric is dead.
Yeah.
Fudge grabs him out of the crowd, but then, when Harry is fading in and out of consciousness, when he starts getting up the stairs, he realizes that Moody is taking him up the stairs. And at this point, I finally realize it's not Ludo Bagman. Not that it isn't necessarily Ludo Bagman, but at this point, I thought, and you'll learn later that I was wrong, it was Fudge bringing him away, but then it turns into Moody. I was like, is it someone using Polyjuice Potion to disguise themselves as Fudge? Well, yeah, but I guessed it, but I was wrong, because
Oh, okay. So you have guessed.
Fudge actually is there, and then he passes out, and then Moody actually does bring him back separately, but I thought it was someone disguised as Fudge, brings him away, and then it's Moody. So I was right, but for the wrong reasons. It's kind of like if you do a math problem on a test and you'd fuck it up, but you still get the right integral. And at the end of the day, it's like, well, I hope the teacher doesn't look at my work too well because I did it wrong.
Frank has the right integral.
Probably
happens all the time.
Math stuff.
Yeah.
That's the only thing I could think of where I had to show my work. Anyway.
We get it, you're smart.
The worst. So all caps, I was like, wait, no. Is this Polyjuice bullshit? Is it Moody? Is it Fudge? What the fuck is happening? So Moody gives Harry something to drink that makes him feel better. And then Moody starts asking about the details, and he's way too specific. He's like, how did he treat the Death Eaters? Did he forgive them? Was he nice to them? Which is super suspect.
I never said I was back at Voldemort.
So Harry then blurts out that there's a Death Eater here at Hogwarts that facilitated all of this.
And Moody's like, that's crazy.
He's like, yeah, but he's like, I know who the Death Eater is. And Harry's like, oh, is it Karkaroff? And then Moody's like, Karkaroff fled once the tattoo got dark. So that means I was correct in my guess of him being the scaredy cat one.
Point one shoes.
Right? And then Moody admits that he put Harry's name in the goblet. And Harry's like, no! And then Moody's like, yeah, I did!
The way you said that, it sounded like a guitar solo should be in the background. He's like, yeah!
Moody draws his wand on Harry, and Moody's like, I summoned the Dark Mark at the World Cup.
Oh, what?
And he's like, I hate Death Eaters that are free because that means they turned their back on Voldemort. He hates the people that didn't get arrested. What does this mean?
Yeah.
Still didn't guess who it was. Moody reveals that he kept people who hated Harry away, had Hagrid show Harry the dragons, taught him how to beat the dragons, and all this other stuff. Told Cedric about the egg thing so that Cedric would then tell Harry. Says that
I like that he also calls out how nice Cedric is. He's like, Cedric's a really nice moron. Of course he was gonna shit on you.
It's so true. And then he's like, he even the magic plant book. First off, I like that the magic plant book is a plant.
Yeah.
There it So he planted the magic plant book in Neville so that Neville would tell him about Gillyweed, but then Neville didn't do it, so he had to do the whole Dobby thing. So he orchestrated it all with Dobby to make that go down. Moody stunned Fleur at the maze. He was one of the 4 teachers that's supposed to protect people. Nope.
So that creepy dude was just inside the maze, like.
Yep, just chilling there. Shouldn't you be on the perimeter? Nope, I'm inside.
Nope,
so he did the thing with Fleur, and then Imperioed Crumb to make him do Crucio. So I'm very glad that Crumb is not a bad guy.
Crumb's still an okay dude.
That's okay. Harry is flabbergasted, as am I. I'm freaking out while I'm reading.
That was a good twist.
I did not see this coming at all. I'm freaking out, especially because I think it's actually Moody. I'm like, how is Moody a bad guy? Why would he be a bad guy? This doesn't make sense. It does make sense that it's Moody. I don't get it. Then Moody says, basically, oh, if I kill you, Voldemort's gonna love me so much, and he's gonna make me so strong, I gotta kill you. He admits that he, like Voldemort, has the same name of his father, and killed his father, and I was like, oh no, because I'm starting to put it together. Crouch, motherfucker, bullshit. So Harry then says, "You're mad," and I was like, yeah, he's Mad-Eye Moody. Boo. Moody is about to just murder Harry, but then Harry uses Stupefy, which opens the door because he heard people coming behind.
Yeah,
so
he's like,
Dumbledore, McGonagall, and Snape are there. Dumbledore has like a cold fury in his face when he sees Moody. He is
You're like, this isn't normal Dumbledore. This is Dumbledore turned up to 11.
Oh, yes. So McGonagall wants to take Harry to the hospital wing, and Dumbledore's like, no, Harry needs to understand what's going on. Still super pissed, and Harry is very confused because he's never seen Dumbledore like this.
Yeah.
Dumbledore says that this isn't Moody, and he tells Snape to get the strongest truth serum that he possesses, and to grab Winky as well. Dumbledore then tells McGonagall to bring the Boarhound, and Dumbledore does some crazy-ass lock shit to open up a trunk that's in Moody's office.
7 keys, 7 trunks.
So when he opens it, you see the real Moody inside, with a bunch of his hair missing, as well as his peg leg is missing.
That was a crazy reveal.
Absolutely ridiculous. And then Snape empties the hip flask that quote-unquote Moody had to show that it's Polyjuice Potion. So I was like, oh shit, I was right. But kind of.
In a different way. But I did it. But
So the right answer.
right answer, wrong word.
So the hair that is missing has got to be to keep making the potion. The potion eventually wears off, and it's revealed that the imposter is someone that Harry's seen before in the Pensive. And I was like, oh shit, it is Crouch's kid. And then
Barty.
And then Winky comes in and confirms that it's the kid. But before she does it, she keeps calling him like Master Crouch. And I was like, if it's Barty Crouch Sr., I would be so mad because he was the most obvious red herring the whole way.
Right.
For like 5 seconds, I was livid.
You're like, no.
I was like, no. And then you reveal that it's Barty Crouch Jr., which is
Infinitely better.
very cute. I don't think they said that his name was also Barty, so it totally threw me for a loop.
Yeah.
And it was nice, but I was still like kind of mad at JK. I was like, oh, that's so crafty, but also grr, how dare you?
Girl.
Like, come on, why you gotta do that?
Why you gotta make this?
Oh yeah, so Winky confirms it's the kid, and then I wrote in parentheses, I am barely a genius. Because I like got it right literally 2 months before she said it. So Snape comes back with the serum, which is the same one that he threatened Harry with.
Serum.
So he pours it in the mouth of Barty, and Dumbledore then starts just grilling him. The kid reveals that his mother's dying wish was to swap places with the kid via Polyjuice Potion, facilitated by Crouch Sr.
Yeah, because he was an Azkaban, so she was like, I'm gonna take his place. And I was like, I can't decide if you're the best mom or the worst mom.
The worst mom, since your son is evil. So
Yeah, but
Crouch then had...
Moral dilemma. Anyway.
So yeah, they do this switch thing where basically they like come to visit him. They switch places or whatever. She keeps taking Polyjuice Potion so she looks like him. He keeps taking it so he looks like her.
My question was like, bear with me. High security wizard prison. The highest security wizard prison. Where everyone's watching you, making sure you're not up to any crafty shit. There's dementors everywhere. How you making Polyjuice Potion for like 15 years?
A year.
Oh, just kidding.
No,
A year.
the kid lasted a total of 1
Yeah,
year in.
because they say later you have to take it every hour, on the hour. So, I mean, I know, like, in prisons they make, like, toilet wine and toilet alcohol. Was she just making, like, toilet Polyjuice Potion? Like...
I don't know. Either that or she had a really big flask that she didn't ever have to make it again.
Yeah, but I was like, why would they let her have her own personal, like... I don't know. I'm just skeptical.
No, this is the same prison where Sirius Black, the most notorious criminal in the world, quote unquote, killed 13 people. They didn't check to see if he was an animagus at all. And then they just leave him in a room with bars spaced far enough apart where a dog can sneak out of it.
Which technically means a
Which,
human.
like, a human could have too.
Listen, this prison needs a reform.
This is the worst run prison ever. I'm so stoked for it to get broken in book 6 is what I'm guessing.
What is this fucking guild chat?
It's gonna be some shit, but good, because it's a poorly run institution.
Honestly, they deserve a breakout if it's
Everything is bad. Everything is so poorly run. The ministry is shit. Hogwarts is shit.
government reform.
God. Crouch basically had Winky nurse Crouch Jr. back to health, and then hit him with an invisibility cloak all the time, used Imperio to try to keep him from not being evil. This makes sense about why Crouch Sr. was so adamant against people interrogating Winky at
Yeah.
the World Cup. That's why
Yeah.
he's like, no, because then.
And also, you can just be like, she's a house elf. Ignore her.
Yep. So then he says that Bertha Jorkins found out by visiting the Crouch home once for a signature. So Crouch had to hit her with like an intense memory charm, which already fucked up her brain. So that's why they just sent her away, which is why they covered up her disappearance and didn't really look into it.
Because it was a house elf, so everyone was like, we don't care.
And Winky, well, also it's just like he wanted to make sure no one found her and then figured out what was actually going down.
Right.
So Winky talked Crouch into letting his kid go to the World Cup because that's like the only thing that he loved. So that explains the empty seat at the game, as it was the kid sitting in the seat
With an invisibility
with
cloak.
the invisibility cloak.
Also, how many invisibility cloaks are out there?
So far two.
So far two.
And I don't know where you get them or how you get them.
Amazon.com.
Wizard, Amazon.wizard.
Amazon.wiz.
Amazon.wiz. While in the box, he broke through the Imperious Curse of Papa Crouch, stole Harry Potter's wand out of the back of his pocket, and when the Death Eaters started acting a fool on their own volition, he summoned the Dark Mark. That's why it's on Harry's wand, etc., etc. Papa Crouch retrieved the stunned kid because when they did those spells into the forest, they hit him, so he stayed in the forest.
So he was like, oh shoot, I'm out. And then they were like, nope. And then he was like, had to find his son that was covered in an invisibility cloak.
In the forest, so he's just stammering around.
Everywhere.
So
He's doing the stingray shuffle, but in the forest.
the stingray shuffle.
If you're from coastal towns, they teach you this thing.
Oh, that's like how you check if stingrays are on the
Yeah.
floor of the ocean?
It's like a coastal town thing. Like if you live on the beach, like the lifeguards teach you when you're like a really little kid to do the stingray shuffle. So you just shuffle your feet in the sand when you're walking into the ocean, and that way it wakes up all the stingrays and you don't get stung. And that way you don't accidentally like step on a stingray and then get a barb through your foot. So.
True. Yeah, I thought this was just the lame version of the Cupid shuffle, which is already the lamest answer. Hey,
pardon me.
Advice to anyone: if you want to ruin a wedding, play the Cupid shuffle.
I think never. I work in the wedding industry.
Whoa, wait, but why?
White people love
wait,
that.
I mean, why not play the cha-cha slide is better because at least that guy's voice is fun. But also, like, why don't you just play the wobble so it like get some real shit?
Do you think they played this at the Yule Ball?
Man, maybe.
Why am I killing a fucking boar? Now I'm just thrown off.
Wait, did you just say the wobble and then the wop?
Yeah.
Because that's the I don't know if we've ever discussed this, but that's like the 1-2 punch I would do in college. Anytime you need to get a party started, it's like, oh, people are dancing. It's like play the wobble and then the wop. Your party is saved. It worked every time. Every single
Or you
time.
were too drunk to notice that everyone was like, God, have you minded the wobble and the wop?
I didn't drink until I turned 21.
And you were the only one dancing the wobble and the wop, and you were like, this party rules.
I didn't start drinking until I was 21, so I made this call sober a ton and had a lot of food. So that if I ever did make this call drunk, I knew that it probably worked even if I didn't remember.
Alright, whatever you say, Sean.
It's such a good 1-2 punch. What is better than the wobble and the wop?
So Cuban
No, it is not. It's so bad. All you do is step to the left and then to the right and kick and cha-cha by yourself.
Yeah, that's how I do my cardio. I just do the Cupid shuffle to myself in my bathroom.
I'm imagining like with the little jazzercise dumbbells that don't weigh anything.
Ankle weights, dude.
True. Oh man. So then little Crouch says that Voldemort and Wormtail broke him free from other Crouch. Voldemort tortured Bertha Jorkins until he broke through the memory charm, so he found out about Moody and the Triwizard Tournament, Crouch's kid, and all this stuff from that. So then Voldemort kind of made his plan based off that. He used the Imperious Curse on older Crouch to release his son, and then all the shit starts going down.
Yeah.
So that's why that whole Moody thing.
Bro, this
trash
fucking
can
quest
situation,
has
that
got
was
me
Wormtail and Crouch's kid breaking in and
going and
kidnapping
fucking
him,
insane.
Polyjuice stuff, and then talking down Arthur Weasley and hitting him with a charm when he came to investigate. So then they locked Moody in his own trunk, kept him alive with Imperious Curse, used the hair for Polyjuice Potion, and studied his backstory so that he super sinister, like studied Moody's backstory so that he could act like him and know how he would act towards each individual person, like who to hate, who to like.
Yeah.
You gotta respect how much work Barty Crouch Jr. put into this.
Do I?
I mean, it's super evil, but so thorough.
That's like the most sinister thing in the book I've heard so far. Like, yeah, Voldemort killed a ton of people and like maybe possessed an animal or two, but they kidnapped a man.
They kidnapped a man and then stole his identity.
Barely kept him alive.
And like studied
Stole his hair.
and only from one side, like didn't even like do it
Like,
nicely.
come on, give him just an
give him a buzz cut at one time, put all his hair in a big bucket, and then just take out little pieces every now and then, right? Like,
Just a bucket of hair.
no. Oh, so then also, he stole the stuff from Snape's office, and since he's Barty Jr., that's why on the map it looked like it was Barty Crouch Sr. Shouldn't the map know? Like, shouldn't the map say Barty Crouch Jr. on it?
Right.
Right.
That's something you have to put on every government form when you're signing up. It says like, do you have a prefix or a suffix? And you're like, I am Barty Crouch Jr., thank you. And then, like, that should be on an official wizarding document, like the secret Marauders run.
Exactly. And then in addition to that aspect of the map, that explains why Moody, quote unquote, was there to bail Harry out of the situation.
Holy shit, I'm just gonna abandon
Crazy
this.
that if Snape had just caught him normally, it actually would have helped. Like, because then Moody wouldn't have gotten the map to help him get his dad.
Yeah, right?
Harry giving him the map was actually monumental.
You know, not everything works out.
So the Crouch illness thing was all a bunch of bullshit. He started to break free of the curse slowly, the Imperious Curse. So that's when he fled to Hogwarts and was freaking out. But then Moody used the Moody, quote unquote, Crouch Jr. used the Marauders map to know where he was, and then set up the whole thing to like get the people to run away, and then basically knocked out Crumb, took his dad away, and then fucking murders his father.
Yeah, that's so logical.
Kills his dad and then turns him into a giant bone.
And buries it.
Oh, it's so bad.
You know, I mean, you're still giving him a proper burial, technically.
Kills his dad. I wrote what the fuck like 300 times in my notes. And then he says Voldemort will reward him far beyond anyone's wildest dreams. And that is the end of chapter 35. So, chapter 36, the parting of the waves. So Dumbledore uses the rope spell. I'm really enjoying those spells.
Same one, twice in one book, loving it.
So he uses the rope spell to tie up Barty Crouch Jr. So Dumbledore basically is like, Harry, come with me to my office. Sirius is there. Harry asks, where are the Diggories? And Dumbledore is like, don't worry, they're with Sprout, who is the head of Hufflepuff. And I think that's the first time they mention who the head of Hufflepuff House is.
Possibly.
Professor Sprout.
Yeah.
And of course it would be like the lamest professor, like the plant teacher whose last name is about plants, and we don't know anything about her.
Listen, Polly Sprout. She's great.
I just like the fanfic where her and Professor Hooch are a lesbian couple. I think that's great.
Stop. Is that a fanfic?
I think it is.
I'm about it.
I had on episode 2 with Charlotte, she mentioned that, and I was like, this is so good. Hooch and Sprout, such a great like couple name.
Hooch and Sprout and Hooch. Spooch.
Sprooch.
Dude, Spooch is their celebrity couple name.
Way better than Benefit.
Doesn't appear that any of these professors are like married. They've kind of just devoted their lives to teaching like bratty children how to like navigate their own abilities. A very poorly run school. So yeah, I wonder what the dating scene's like for older wizards.
Oh my god, I would love to
Because
know.
clearly, like, they got married, they abide to those weird, like, societal rules. Like, James and Lily Potter were married and stuff like that, but none of the professors are hitched.
I want to know more.
I want to know more.
Oh man, write more books, JK.
Has J.K. Rowling heard your podcast, or does she know?
Not yet. And whenever she does, she's gonna be so mad at me.
We should tag her and everything.
I try. I've tagged her on Twitter in a couple stuff.
That girl loves Twitter.
She does. She loves sassing people on Twitter, so maybe we'll connect on that.
Yeah.
She does. My like magical dream world scenario is that somehow this gets to her, and then she's.
I'm sure. She's got assistants and stuff who like look for stuff like that. I'm sure.
So good. It was so good. I would love
Actually, I don't know. She's pretty normal. She didn't she like lose her spot on the Forbes list of most rich people because she donated so much of her money.
Oh wow. That's a dope.
I think that was like I think that was a story that is actually true.
That's so cool. Prop to JK.
Like, so I don't know if she's got all them like fancy assistants, but
probably has
just keeping an eye out.
So anyway, they go to the Dumbledore office.
I can't believe I wasted so much time on that quest.
What had happened and all the moody stuff. Fox flies in then. Dumbledore asks Harry what happened at the.
I gotta read this fucking.
He's like, yo, I know you just went through this really traumatic thing, but let's talk about it at length.
Yeah, and basically Sirius and Harry are like, can't I rest right now? And then Dumbledore's like, look, if you chill out and get over it, and then I ask you about it again, it's gonna be way worse. So you might as well just like tell me everything while it's fresh in your brain and shit sucks, so you don't have to relive it again. And then he's like, all right, true, makes sense, true. So he starts describing the fight, and Sirius asks, why would the wands connect on the spells? And Dumbledore says,
great question, Sirius.
Dumbledore says, priori incantatem. And my first note is like, well, that was much longer than half of a chapter. Usually the titles are revealed halfway through.
Yeah.
It is apparently the reverse spell effect. So song from before, spell from before, it makes sense. So that happens because Harry's wand and Voldemort's wand have the same core, the feather of a phoenix. Hence why Phoenix music was playing while the attack was going down. And then you learn not only is it just a phoenix, it's Fox, which is ridiculous.
Isn't Fox just a series of like different birds, or is he reborn as Fox every time?
Oh, I guess I would assume he's reborn as Fox every time.
Yeah, you're right. You're true. Okay.
True.
Phoenixes, yeah, true.
So when these wands face off, they won't work properly against one another. But if the holders force them to duel, one will make the other regurgitate the spells it has performed in reverse, explaining what happened. We made fun of how it stopped at the Potters.
Right.
But why does it only show the people that he killed?
Why doesn't it show the people that he like
Crucioed or Imperioed or like did an embarrassing thing like, I don't know, shave my pubes spell or like something. Like,
okay.
That's gotta be a spell, right? Come on.
Because then we'd have more superfluous characters like Ludo.
Oh, no, Ludo.
She just had to keep naming people who came out of the wand.
Ludo.
She's like, God damn it, I can't think of another name. That's why this one's called Ludo Bag.
I'm so sad. I thought it was him.
I have another theory about Fox.
Yeah, what's up?
So essentially he's getting reborn each time. So if he doesn't like his shitty life, he can just restart it at the beginning. But does he remember? Does he remember that he's Fox? Is it some weird thing where you can't remember your like previous lives if you're reincarnated? And all I'm picturing is just a death and life circle to Mad World. It's like he just keeps being disappointed, so he keeps lighting himself on fire and keeps getting reborn. And it's like all around off a million things.
Oh my god. I didn't think I wanted a Fox spin-off movie, but now I do so
I
badly.
need it. I need it.
Oh man.
Anyway.
Fox, speaking of, then cries on Harry's wound. What a bro to heal it.
You know, men can cry and heal your wound.
Harry heads to the hospital wing. The squad and the other Weasleys are there. Dumbledore's like, hey, don't question him unless he wants to say stuff like, let him rest. And he says that they're all welcome to stay overnight. And I was like, are you sure about that, Dumbledore? Because Madame Pomfrey kicks everybody else the fuck out when they try to stay overnight.
Yeah,
Like,
she's like, I don't know what you thought, but
this is my hospital wing. You get the hell out. Harry then just falls asleep out of exhaustion. He wakes and then he overhears McGonagall and Fudge kind of arguing before they enter the hospital wing. Turns out that the argument is centered around Fudge bringing in a Dementor while he interrogated Barty Jr. and the Dementor did the Dementor kiss. And now you can't know all of the finer details.
you killed the key witness, idiot.
And then Fudge is like, but we know everything. And then Dumbledore's like, yeah, but
You're
like,
like,
what about some more details, you dumb simpleton?
He's like, oops, I'm sorry.
I'm the worst person. Dumbledore suggests removing the Dementors and reaching out to the Giants to apologize, which is super smart based on what Voldemort said that their entire plan is to A, get those two groups of people back on their side. And Fudge is like, no, we could never do that. It's like, ugh.
And you're like,
You're so dumb. You're
like,
so
why
dumb.
must you be so insufferable?
Dumbledore's then, you know what, fine. You do what you see fit. I'm going to do what I see fit.
You're like, okay, sir.
And this is why the chapter's called the
Post
Burning
twice a
Blaze.
month on your
Snape
Instagram
then
feed or Facebook
shows
timeline.
his dark mark tattoo to Fudge.
Let's just ask to repost our giveaways
Still
and
doesn't believe it. Like, Fudge
contests.
refuses to believe Voldemort's back. He's like, he can't be back. There's no way he's back.
It's like, no, this undeniable proof that he's back that was tattooed onto your arm. It's gotta be fake.
So Fudge is just awful and says that he's determined to keep everything under wraps. And he leaves, and when he does it, he drops off Harry's winnings, which is 1,000 gold galleons, which the internet tells me is $7,354.
Is that the conversion rate?
Yup.
Oh, God.
And then Harry's like, I don't want that shit. It should be Cedric's. And he feels super guilty because he's like, I told Cedric to grab the cup. Like,
Oh,
really,
wait.
I could have just grabbed it, and then
Yeah.
there's no Cedric.
That was
there.
not the quest.
And Mrs. Weasley's being very
don't think-
motherly during this whole thing, putting
But,
Betty, telling him it's not his fault. Super awesome chapter from Molly.
See, now she's gonna move up in your favorites list.
I mean, she's getting up there. Hey, let's take a quick break to hear a word from our sponsors, who make this show possible.
Support for this podcast comes from McDonald's. What does a Sprite from McDonald's taste like? Many say it's electrifying. Others believe that refreshing first sip is the best part. But don't take our word for it. Let your taste buds make their own assessment. Get any size soft drink for only $1 on the McDonald's $1, $2, $3 menu. Go ahead, try a spicy Sprite, or enjoy a Coke, Diet Coke, Fanta, or Dr. Pepper. Prices and participation may vary, cannot be combined with any offer or combo meal.
This episode is brought to you by CarMax. At CarMax, the best way to buy a car is your way. Whether you're an online shopper or an in-person kind of person, CarMax has you covered. Choose from over 50,000 CarMax certified vehicles at CarMax.com. Check out 360-degree views, research and
Report
compare
to
with ratings and
Oregon.
reviews, schedule a trade-in appraisal, and apply for financing. All from the comfort
You gotta
of
do
home.
too much shit for
And
that.
if we found
Fuck
the
it.
right car for you, you can buy online or in store with curbside pickup and home delivery in select markets. CarMax, the way it should be. Get all the details and start this.
What? Jimmy, guys, I see what you did there. You're trying to subvert my expectations, but guess what? I know that there's more books.
True.
You can't fool me. I'm an adult.
I'm a 25-year-old adult that didn't start reading these books until last year.
I'm 23. I read them when I was 11, but whatever.
So it's 1 month later, and Harry has met with the Diggories, and they're like kind of at peace at this point. They also refuse the gold. They're like, no, we don't want that either. Which makes sense, because wouldn't it be like super weird if every time they think about how they made a couple extra $1,000, they're like, oh right, because our son died. Yeah, so smart move on them to not take it.
Money can't buy your dead.
Oh, too real.
Oh, no, sorry.
That's gonna be the next Potterless t-shirt. Money can't get you your dead son back.
That's so awful, even though it's about a fictional character.
Dumbledore tells the students, yo, don't bother Harry. Like, please just leave him be.
Mm-hmm.
Mrs. Weasley asked Dumbledore apparently to let Harry Potter go straight to their house this summer.
Yeah, because he's like, how about you don't go home to your abusive family?
Yeah, but Dumbledore says like he's got to stop by the Dursleys first, but he doesn't say why. Classic Dumbledore.
Classic Dumbledore.
There's for good reason, but we just don't know why. So squad meetups with Hagrid. He kind of puts Harry at ease, just kind of talks him down, says, you know, how awesome it was what he did, and he did the best he could, and you know, it's so impressive all the stuff you did, blah blah blah. And it starts to make Harry feel better, which is great. Hagrid has been given a secret job by Dumbledore, and Madame Maxime is to join him because now they're on good terms. They're like a couple. It's super cute.
Couple of giants.
Oh, zing. Zing. So Harry's like, oh, does it have to do with Voldemort? And then Hagrid like tries to hide it at first, and then he's like, yeah, because Hagrid has no poker face.
He's like, Voldemort, who? Voldemort, who? Who's that? I'm sorry about it.
Bish way?
Away?
So then at the leaving feast, which I think is the first time is that they called it the leaving feast, Harry wonders what Dumbledore had Snape do that night that Voldemort returned when he sent him away. The whole place is set up with black curtains in respect for Cedric. So basically like a semi-funeral type deal.
It's normally the big blow fest for whoever won the House Cup.
Exactly. And they would be normal circumstances would be like praising the crap out of Cedric and Harry and Gryffindor and Hufflepuff, and Hufflepuff would finally have something to cheer about.
For the first time in centuries.
But no, Cedric had to die, tainting the only good thing that's happened to them in millennia.
And they won a regular season Quidditch.
Yeah, that's like, oh, well, that's still the best thing that ever happened to us. We won a regular season game against Harry.
You're like, you know what? We did our
You
best.
know what? We're good seekers, and we're loyal, and our dorm is close to the food court, so it's all good.
What's up?
Whatever. Other. Feel so bad for them.
No,
Shout
shut
out to Hufflepuffs.
Shout out. Shout out to all the
Shout
Hufflepuffs
out.
listening. What's up?
Dumbledore starts to give like a pseudo eulogy thing about Cedric, and he says, this is another thing where he shits on Hufflepuff. Quote, he exhibited the true spirit of Hufflepuff by being a good and loyal friend, a hard worker, and a valuer of fair play. So
I know. I was like, that's not.
they're nice friends, they work hard, and they listen to rules. Hufflepuff
They
out.
play by the rules.
Like, so disappointing.
Oh my god.
JK is so mean to the people that she created.
I know, right?
So then Dumbledore tells them the truth about what happened. He's like, out of respect, and so you guys know what's going on, I'm going to tell you what's happening. And he admits, he's like, the ministry doesn't want me to do this. Some of your parents are not going to want me to do this, but I personally believe that truth is always better than lies, as we've said before. Like, always be honest with everyone, otherwise that's how you birth Voldemort. So just be honest with everyone. So he tells them exactly what happened. And everyone is like super shocked. Of course, except for Crabbe, Goyle, and Malfoy.
Yeah, because they're like, oh, what? We
We
didn't
had no
know.
idea what. Crazy. Dumbledore gives a toast to Cedric, raises a glass, and everyone like mumbles Cedric in solidarity. And then he also does one for Harry for, you know, being boss, fighting Voldemort, getting out of there alive, bringing Cedric's body back, all this other stuff. And then everyone else, who usually, like roughly half the school, hates Harry.
No.
Everyone is like, to Harry, except for Crabbe and Malfoy.
Right, because Slytherin.
It's them and then a bunch of the Slytherins, and it's like, can you guys...
Would it kill you to
Yeah, like, would it kill you just to, like, half-ass do it and just be appreciative of what Harry did and, like, feel bad for... It's, like, so insensitive that some of these Slytherins have such a gripe with Harry that they're like, no, fuck you, Harry.
Well, it's like, it's just all Malfoy's fault. Malfoy, like, runs that as a little, as, like, a punk, like...
Pseudo...
I don't know, they're third years at this point, or fourth years?
Fourth years.
Like, they're just a punk fourth year.
Yeah.
Like, it's just commandeered the
He
house.
has so much pull because his dad is rich. It's like, ugh, get over it.
We get it.
So he calls basically for all the wizards to be united, mentioning about how, like, Durmstrang, Beauxbaton, everyone should kind of, like, get together because we need to unite against Voldemort. And then he gives a great quote where he says, many of your families have been torn asunder, which I just think torn asunder is a great phrase
It's a good
that should come back. I need to make sure I'm fully aware of what its definition means before I start using it, but torn asunder sounds dope.
It's a good
Yeah,
line.
so
Very Dumbledore.
very Dumbledore. So they're starting to leave. They're all going like back. It's the end of the year. Fleur comes up and gives like a very sweet goodbye in her broken French. Says she's gonna try to get a job in England so that she can learn English. Super cute of Fleur.
Super cute.
So nice of her. Crumb also comes back. Talks to Harry for a little bit. Takes Hermione aside to talk to her, and Ron gets like really jealous.
He's like, that's my girlfriend, but not yet.
And then he comes back, and then it says that Ron, quote, finally asks for Crumb's autograph after a deep internal struggle.
Also, how creepy is Crumb? How old's Hermione? She's 13?
Yeah, he's 18.
How old's Crumb? Is he 18? That's illegal.
Yeah. Super weird.
That's
though.
illegal.
That's weird.
I didn't want to
I'm
say it,
like,
but
that's illegal though. Yeah. Not fun stuff.
Something to think about.
Harry Potter and the this is gonna be bad, but Harry Potter and the Statutory Reapers.
Oh no. That would be Victor Crumb in the statutory.
Victor Crumb and You Shouldn't Be Doing This.
That's his spin-off book.
So let's see. On the train ride home, Hermione pulls out a Daily Prophet, which doesn't even mention Cedric's death or Harry or all this other stuff. All it mentions is that Harry won the Triwizard Tournament because the Ministry's on full hush-hush mode, which is super dumb.
Political cover-ups, yeah.
Super messed up. Hermione then reveals that Rita Skeeter won't be writing any more pieces because she has dirt on Skeeter. And Harry and Ron are like, what? So Hermione finally reveals that she found out that Skeeter is an unregistered animagus who can turn into a beetle. So Harry and Ron suggesting that A, it's bugging, and then B, Harry thinking that bugging literally meant bugs. He was right.
And her last name is Skeeter. That's a mosquito bug.
Boom.
Anyway.
Boom, 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 boom.
And then Hermione, like, digs her out of her purse and is like, here, I have this mason jar with this woman who I trapped. And guess what? I also put a spell on this mason jar so she can't turn into a human inside this mason jar. So Hermione kidnaps someone is essentially what happened.
But in Hermione's defense, she put a twig and a couple leaves in there.
Yeah, right. Made it nice and cozy for her.
But like me stumbling to the right answer of Polyjuice Potion, Harry stumbled upon the answer of bugging being the answer, which I have so much in common with Harry.
Lots of subtle clues in this one.
So Hermione, like you said, has her trapped in a jar with a spell on it that she can't break free, and basically said to Skeeter, like, you can't write an article for a year, otherwise I'll spill the beans that you're an unregistered animagus, and then you're gonna get put in Azkaban. So
that sounds like a very harsh punishment.
Yeah, super intense. But hey,
kind of like non-violent drug crimes. Anyway, ooh, sorry, did that get political?
It's fine. I live in Seattle. You live in California.
I know, right? Anyway,
man. So let's see.
Don't crab going off.
So before that, they start like realizing all the beetle stuff, and they're like, "Oh, the beetle was in my hair at the like Crumb pulled a beetle out of my hair at the second task." And Harry's like, "Oh yeah, I saw a beetle on the statue with the whole map thing." And then they realized the Malfoy hand talking thing was which looked like a walkie-talkie, was him talking to Rita. So like they put it all together.
It all comes together.
Super solid. This book almost makes me want to reread it. Since there's so many little things, and a big thing that I didn't realize until I was editing an episode of Potterless after I had finished the book was like when they go over the unforgivable curses at first, and Neville very timidly raises his hand and say Crucio. That shit is so deep because his parents went crazy because of it. Like that's so crazy. Oh,
holy cow! I didn't even realize that is a deep,
so intense. what had to go through Neville's body when he had to raise his hand and give that answer. Ugh, I feel so bad for Neville. I'm really excited to see the theory that develops that he's the chosen one. I really want to see how that happens because so far I'm not seeing it, but I want to. I want to.
Seeing is believing.
I want to believe. So the walkie-talkie thing talks about the jar, says she's going to release her in London, and then she's just not allowed to write articles for a year, and then everything will be fine. Malfoy, Crabbe, and Goyle come in, and they start talking shit and praising
Like,
Voldemort.
why are you so obsessed with me going?
Yeah, they go in and they're like, we told you should have picked your side. Lord Voldemort will rule the world. Like, serves you right for blah, blah, blah. And the squad, in addition to Fred and George, who are down the hallway, all do hexes at the same time. And it's like this weird combination where like someone used jelly legs and all this other stuff. And they say that everyone looks rough. And the only detail that they give is that one of the three has a bunch of like tentacles spreading out his face. And I was like, oh my.
That's messed up.
I don't know. I don't think they did this in the movie, but like they should have, because that's amazing.
They definitely did not.
Oh, that would have been so good. So they leave them in that little room, and then the squad asks Fred and George, they're like, yo, who are you blackmailing? And here's where we learn about Ludo Bagman's role in this book. His incredibly insignificant role in...
But here we go.
Here it is.
It's been a build-up.
So they say that Ludo Bagman is the one that they were blackmailing because he paid them in leprechaun gold during their very suspicious bet at the World Cup. They tried to write to him nicely at first, be like, hey, just in case you didn't know, like, you gave us leprechaun gold, it disappeared, we would like our money, and then he would refuse to give them the money, so then it got nasty, and they were writing angry letters back and forth. So it turns out that he made a similar bet to Lee Jordan's dad and lost money and didn't pay them. So basically, Ludo Bagman is like crazy in debt. He was like a gambling nut, so he's basically Michael Jordan, and he owed the goblins a ton of money, which is why in what's the place where you drink butterbeer? Hogsmeade. Hogsmeade. Yeah, well, no, it was outside the Three Broomsticks at Hogsmeade. That's why he was surrounded by the goblins, and they were like talking to him angrily because he owed them a bunch of money. Well, to try to
money, bitch.
Exactly, these tiny men are like intimidating him for money.
Yo, those goblins are scary. I don't know what you're talking about.
So creepy. I was at the Wizarding World of Harry Potter. Those motherfuckers are scary. I was like, let's not hang out.
You don't even run out of books.
And I've been twice, so.
That should have been like an end of the podcast cover, man.
Oh, I want to do that. I want to go back after I finish it and be like, I know everything now, and just see how.
Can we get all the podcast guests together?
Let's do it. Oh my god. Well, when I get signed by NPR and Sarah Koenig is my boss, and I'm a millionaire, I'll bring everything. It's totally gonna happen. Come on, yo, Ira Glass, hit a boy up.
Act 1.
Yeah, Act 1.
Harry Potter.
Scene 1. Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. So what he was trying to do to get out of this debt was he put a giant bet on Harry Potter to win the Triwizard Tournament, and that explains why he wanted Harry to win so badly. Not because he was trying to get Harry Potter killed, but because he was trying to get himself out of debt.
And then we never hear about him again.
Movie, no one gives a shit. That is why people...
Yeah, you probably got killed by the goblin.
Yeah, they just said he like ran away, they don't know where he is, and so he's like, you know, in exile. And not the happy like Tim Robbins from Shawshank exile, like a bad exile.
No. Goblin's gone.
Harry then gives Fred and George his winnings. He's like, I don't want this gold, take it, but don't tell anyone how you got it. Invest it in your joke shop. Like, you guys deserve to do that. Because they basically said that they were like, all their life savings was gone because they bet their entire life savings.
Yeah, because they put all that money on that.
Exactly. So
Ireland went
yeah.
the cannon.
So Harry's like, take this, start the joke shop. Don't say how you got it. And then his last thing is like, oh, and also buy Ron some new robes, some new dress robes, save them from you because he.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's that. The final thing that happens, like, he gets picked up by Vernon at the train station. And Harry's like feeling optimistic. This might suck for a little bit, but at the end of the day, I'm gonna hang out with the Weasleys like halfway through the summer. There's a reason that Dumbledore wants me to start here. I'm gonna be fine. Life is good. Totally ignoring the fact that Voldemort is back. He's like not worried at all. He's like, everything's great. No, Satan is back.
It's summer vacation.
Harry, you fucking idiot.
This is gonna be the best summer ever.
Oh, it's gonna be so good. Freeze frame. And that's the end of chapter 37, and that's the end of Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. Sydney, how's everything? How are you feeling?
I'm feeling great.
Okay, I do too.
I'm feeling great. I'm currently looking at the cover art of the Goblet of Fire.
Oh, what is the cover art? Because my book, which I'm showing you here, which
yeah, here, can you see it? So we're Skyping for those of you at home who are just tuning in to the end of the podcast. You sick fucks. brandishing his wand. Fleur de la Cour looking like a sassy French lady. Crumb looking very intimidating. Cedric Diggory.
That doesn't look very
Yeah.
funny.
Cedric Diggory just looking like confused to be there. And then there's a tiny black dog underneath Cedric.
What up?
That's Sirius Black, but he's just kind of like, hey, I'm here
I'm here
too.
too, guys. That's cool.
Hey, I'm here too.
That's fun.
Yeah, it's cool.
Oh, cool.
I really like all the art for
I
these
do
books.
too.
I think they
But
did a good
I
job.
like that like the art isn't officially canon because it puts the lightning bolt in the middle of his forehead, and J.K. Rowling has like gone on record to say that it's supposed to be above his right eye, which is why the Potterless logo is the way it is. I researched it before I made the logo. I was like, where does the lightning bolt go? Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
wow, you did extensive research.
oh, so much.
For a
Just to
man,
be
for
like-
a man who does not care about Harry Potter.
I wanted the logo to be correct, all right? I didn't want people to be like, well, actually, because everyone and their mom,
Yeah, that's actually a good point.
everyone
because
and their mom
everyone
yelled at me when I messed up the Percy Weatherby thing, which is fine. And then everyone yelled at me when I said Bill had a lame job at a banker, and everyone's like, actually, he's a curse breaker. I like that people correct me, but it was just funny that like a wave of
You're
people.
learning you're learning more about the universe than I think is ever like fully stated.
Sure. Yeah. That's
These are details that are like made in passing, and it's like the fact that people can retain all of those is very impressive to me.
Yeah.
And it shows because I don't think I care about anything that much, and like it's just cool because there are so many like J.K. Rowling worked so hard, and these books are so impressive.
Lives in his shame.
I kind of talked about this on one of the first episodes I did with you, but like she made all of this up, all the names, all the spells, all the everything, like, and so I think it's cool that enough people have like, I mean, clearly hundreds of millions. Is that an overstatement?
No, not at
People
all.
have gotten
No,
like
definitely not.
into it enough to like take care of these details. I think that's cool.
Yeah.
It's a uniting
It
thing.
is good. I like it, and it's always fun.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah.
speaking of fun, this was fun. Thank you so much for being on for
Yeah.
these episodes, Sydney. I had a blast and a half.
Cheers.
I'm glad that it's the exact opposite of our last episodes where nothing happened. And
Yeah, because
the most
But I
eventful
feel like
thing was
you're
finding a
like-
diary last time.
so you feel like the other ones are way funnier because there was like less to talk about.
Yeah, so we were just it was tangenting
for like 2
all the
hours.
time, and it was just us spitballing improv jokes back and forth, and now we had to like actually talk about stuff. Ugh, the
You're like, oh
worst.
shit, we have to hit the major plot
Oh,
points.
we have to think about the thematic elements. But I like that our episodes are a yin and a yang. Nothing happening and then fucking
Fuck this
everything
guy.
happening.
Yeah.
Oh man. But yeah, everyone, thank you so much for listening. If you want to find Sydney on social media, it's Sydney Rachel on is valid. It's like one.
There's always like, it's that one person that you barely talk to in high school.
The like 4 Kurt of Harry Potter. From Melko Berg on Potterless Pop.
Support for this podcast comes from AT&T. Power to boost.
Wanted to thank everyone that's left us a rating and review on iTunes because we've hit 75 total reviews, which is awesome. These reviews, first off, are so sweet. You guys say the nicest things. But second, they really do help more people find the podcast, which is great because it increases our likelihood of coming up in searches, both on the podcasting app and just on Google and stuff like that. So if you want to take the time just to go into the Apple Podcasts app, whether it's on your phone or on iTunes on your computer.
Fuck this guy.
You can just go into the app, search Potterless, leave it a review. You don't even have to type anything. You can just click the little 5-star thing. It really does help a lot, and it helps more people find us. So thank you to everyone that has written one so far, and thank you in the future to everyone who decides to write one. In announcement news, we're making progress on shirts. So if you are a patron in the shirt tier or higher, head on over to patreon.com/Potterless and please vote in the poll on whether or not you'd like the shirt to be a V-neck or a crew neck. Just trying to get a sense of what people want before I order them. If you don't know what I'm talking about, Patreon is basically a website where you can pledge money to the podcast, and I put all of that money back into the podcast. There is no need to do so, only if you feel like doing it, no pressure at all. But there's some cool rewards that you can get, and shirts is one of the tiers, so it's not too late to get in on the shirt train, and hopefully you guys find some stuff over there that you like. If not, not a problem at all. But speaking of Patreon, we've got a lot of new patrons to thank. So first off, shout out to our newest patrons, Ashley McCrory, Neon Green Tiger, Rita Fagan, Johnny Frolickstein, 11:59 to midnight, previous guest Charlotte Dow, and guest on this episode, Eric Schneider. Also, shout out to Harlan Haskins, Sean Jones, and Low Downtown, who all upgraded their pledges into the shirt category. And huge shout out to Jesse Horgan and Maggie Zobazek, new producer level patrons, and the return of Vicky Garcia, who was a producer patron before, had to take a little break, but is back. So thank you to all of you guys. That is huge. You are such lovely, incredible people, and I'm very excited to use these pledges to help Potterless take the next step in quality. And of course, course, shout out to our existing producer level patrons, Andreas, Griffin, Aaron, Erica, Calvin, Michael, Sadie, Emily, and Chandra, whose avocados are always green when they open them. Guys, we have so many producers, I've had to resort to only using first names in the intro, otherwise it would take too long. But without further ado, let's get into this episode of Potterless, episode 24, which starts our journey on everyone's least favorite book, Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix, starring Eric Hamilton Schneider. Hello, Internet! Welcome back to another episode of Potterless, the tale of a 25-year-old man reading Harry Potter for the first time. I'm very excited for this very special guest that we have today. Mike Birbiglia, how's it going?
No, don't do this to me. Not like this.
Okay, fine. Hello,
You're
this
one
is
of
Eric.
the multiple people in my life that will always go like, you sound just like Mike Birbiglia.
You do. Sorry. Okay. In actuality, I'm talking with someone cooler than Mike Birbiglia. It is Eric Schneider, the editor and producer of the Spirits podcast, and my longtime YouTube friend. Eric, how's it going?
It's going very, very well. Spirits is literally like an hour away from hitting 1 million downloads, and we're very
I'm
excited.
so excited.
And
I'm so
I
happy for
complete
you
the
guys.
trilogy on Potterless of all three of the Spirits team.
It was written, it was destiny that this was meant to happen. The heavens have opened and allowed for this amazing combination of events to happen, and I'm so glad to have you here.
Yeah, I'm very glad to be here.
Yeah, and not only are we celebrating that, but we are celebrating the kicking off of a new book, Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix.
Yes.
Crazy.
Which is one of my favorite books. I really like this one. I remember liking it a lot. I haven't read them in like 6 or 7 years, but I remember enjoying this one a lot.
You are one of the few, because I feel like aside from you and Julia and my friend Alex, everyone else is like, oh yeah, 5th is awful. I hated it. Like everyone basically says it's bad until the very end. So I'm just holding on to hope. But we'll see how it goes. There's a point where I got so mad with Angsty Harry in these beginning chapters. I wanted to put the book down, but I was like, I can't. I have
He
Potterless to
definitely
record.
is angsty in these early bits once again.
Yeah, it's a whole new level. Like I thought book 4 had some angsty Harry. Oh no, it's like a whole nother Pokemon evolution of angst. It's absurd. But let's get right to it. Chapter 1, Dudley Demented. Immediately, I'm very upset that another book is starting with Harry and the Dursleys. This is 5 in a row, which is 5 too many. I
made a specific note that right off the bat on page 1, it just goes directly into a very detailed description of what Harry looks like. Which, by this point, I feel like you might just need to mention the scar. I feel like you don't need the whole shebang on what Harry Potter looks like if you've made
He's
it
got
to book
bushy
5.
hair. He wears glasses. Yeah, I feel like there's a lot of things that could have been removed. I can get picking up 3 and 4 for the first time. I don't think anyone's picking up Order of the Phoenix without having read anything else.
Yeah, the momentum is going at this point. People know if they're going to be into Harry Potter or not.
Yeah, thankfully this book didn't like recap all the previous books like 1 through 4 did in the first chapter, so that's fine. But we are stuck with another Dursley chapter. So basically, yes, after this description of what Harry Potter looks like and who he is, you learn that it's a very hot summer. There's a big drought going on apparently, and they describe Harry as basically looking like a hobo.
Yeah, kind of.
Isn't doing his hair. He's got holes in all his clothes.
He's in bushes.
Hanging out in bushes, looking scruffy. It's a rough situation for Harry Potter. A big reason why he looks so rough is that he's like spying on the Dursleys to try to hear the news, so that if anything about Voldemort is said in the headlines, he'll know what's up. So he's been like getting daily profits and only looking at the front cover. He's been trying to like poke his ear around to wherever the Dursleys are listening to the news to see if they say anything. Stuff like that.
Some real sleuthing.
Oh, see, yeah, some real Sherlock shit by Harry up in here. The Dursleys think that Dudley is out eating dinner at a friend's house every single night, but Harry reveals that he's actually out vandalizing the park, smoking, and throwing rocks at cars every night, which is like a big turn from like, I'm a school bully to I'm destroying public property.
It is very significant. I do like that it also is like, because the books take place in like what, the early 90s technically? Is that
late
right?
80s, early 90s.
It feels like a very early 90s thing for like some like youth hooligan. Like that's all they're doing. It's like, they're throwing rocks at cars. It's like, that's par for the course at this point.
So it's another night of Harry trying to listen to the news. He's hiding in the bushes into a window in which the Dursleys are listening to the news. And J.K. Rowling goes out of her way to note that Petunia's hands are bony and again describes her as horse-faced, which makes 5 books in a row of calling Petunia horse-faced, which I just think is a great trend that we got to keep going. I don't know if this is like the same description as Harry Potter, but I think it's been well established that Petunia looks like a horse. I know the Dursleys are like roughly based on people she didn't like from earlier in her life. She must have really fucking hated these people.
Apparently. They don't come off well at all.
No, not at all. While Harry's through the window, he hears like a loud crack, and he doesn't know what it is. He pulls out his wand to try to defend himself, and Vernon then notices Harry, yells at him to put it away, thinks that this is Harry making the disruption of whatever is going on. After all this hubbub, Vernon's like, what are you doing in the window anyway? And he says that he's listening to the news, and Vernon's like, again? Why would you want to learn about the news? Like, Dudley doesn't want to do this. And Harry's like, well, Dudley's an idiot.
This is my favorite quote, I think, in the entire
This guy's an
series,
idiot.
is that he says he's listening to the news again because it changes every day.
He does, yeah.
Which I think is it's hands down the best thing Harry Potter says at any point during any of the 7 books.
It was a really good line. So yeah, the exact quote is, he goes, again? And Harry goes, well, you see, it changes every day. To which I wrote, all caps, ooh, baby, get some aloe for that burn.
Oh, it's so good.
That is
It's so
the
good.
only good thing about sassy or angsty Harry is that there are some really good comebacks. He has another good one pretty soon because Vernon then replies with, we know you're up to something. We're not stupid. And Harry goes, well, that's news to me, which is like, oh. And not only does he say this, but he says this and then immediately turns around and walks into the street. So he drops the mic after just destroying Vernon. It's fantastic. Harry is convinced that the cracking noise that he heard was someone either apparating or disapparating. He immediately wants to blame Dobby for it because that's the same noise that Dobby made when he did it in book 2. But then Harry's like, wait a second, maybe it wasn't a magical person. Maybe I just think it is because I'm yearning for magical world because I miss Hogwarts so much. And then gets into this like long drawn out sappy thing about how he misses being a wizard and stuff. Like he does every summer when he's at the Dursley's house. Like, this is not new territory.
And like what's crazy about that at this point is I think he's only been away for like a month. Is
1
that right?
month.
So it's not even like it's the end of summer. He's like,
No.
gotta get back to that wizard stuff. I get it. If I was in a magical place and then not, and in this terrible place, I would yearn for it immediately. But it's like, I mean, why not just put it more towards the end of summer? Why not?
Yeah, I mean, he's gotten through 4 of these same summers before. I guess the 5th time is just the last straw on the camel's back. He just can't do it. He can't deal. So the only contact he has with the wizarding world so far is getting the Daily Prophet and then just basically reading the headline and nothing else, because he figures that if it's going to be about Voldemort, it's going to mention him in the headline.
Are there comics in the Daily Prophet?
There should be.
Do we know anything about like what's actually in the later pages of the Daily Prophet?
The only thing we ever learn is that apparently in the later pages they use Harry as an insult.
Yeah.
But they don't ever explain what else is in there.
Because there's got to be like a funny strip in there somewhere.
Like a crossword puzzle, some,
Yeah.
some cartoons, maybe a coupon
I mean,
section.
think about how much cooler a magical crossword would be. You could do all kinds of
dude.
like the whatever the word spell, it could come to life right in front of you.
That'd be super fun. Maybe I'd actually do a crossword. So his only contact is reading those Daily Prophets and then getting letters from Ron and Hermione. But every single letter that he gets from Ron and Hermione is like, oh, we can't tell you what's happening. Dumbledore's not letting us tell you what's going on, blah, blah, blah. So Harry is very upset about that, as he always is every summer when he doesn't get the letters that he wants. Then we get into our first stint of super angsty Harry, which is Harry being convinced that they're hanging out at Ron's, having fun without him, and keeping busy, and that they're just like lying to him, that they don't want to spend time with him, and they're just having all this fun without them. And then he gets into this awful thing where he's like, did they forget who I am? Like, I'm Harry freaking Potter. I save them all the time. Like, I've done all this cool stuff. And it's like, dude, you would have got killed like 7 times if it wasn't for Hermione. Be grateful.
That's the truth.
Like, he really needs to be more humble about this situation. Sirius also writes letters to Harry, but at the very least, he starts all of them with, I know this is frustrating, and don't be rash. But Harry finds a way to get mad at this too, because for the letter that starts with "Don't be rash," he's like, "Who are you to tell me not to be rash? You got convicted for murder and all this other stuff." And then he specifically cites the things that Harry facilitated. He's like, "I'm not the one that fled Hogwarts on a magical creature that was condemned for death that we stole from people." It's like, Harry, you stole Buckbeak and then gave it to him and then made him fly away with it. Like, you're not allowed to be mad at the shit that you did.
Also, like, Sirius Black spent years in Azkaban.
Yes,
So, like,
for a thing he didn't do.
if a dude that spent years in Azkaban, a lot of that time in his animal form, right? So his mentors didn't drive him mad. That's like the dude that definitely gets to tell you, "Hey, I know it's tough, but you'll be fine."
Yeah, Harry has to put up with 1 month at a house, whereas Sirius has put up with 13 years of trying to have every happy memory of his life deleted from his brain. Feel like there's a bit of a difference here.
Yeah, I feel like you have to respect that dude's opinion on what sucks.
Yes. So Harry goes to a park to go on the swings, and it literally says, quote, "He moodily stared at the ground," which I think is just a great image of Harry just camping out on the swings, staring at the ground, depressed. He has loads of angsty thoughts just about every single thing, every single person, all this other stuff. And then he sees Dudley and the crew. He's kind of in a weird way hoping that they try to pick a fight with him so that he can, either use magic on them or threaten it on them or something to that effect. But they don't end up coming his way. Harry then remembers that he needs to get back to the Dursleys' house. Like, he has to be home before Dudley comes home. Otherwise, that's breaking curfew. His curfew is literally just, if Dudley is home, you better be home too. So he starts to go home. While he does that, when Dudley's little crew breaks apart, they call him Big D, which is a terrible nickname.
It's a very bad.
It's really
might have been a better nickname then. It's a very bad nickname now.
I mean, it's super bad because it's got some weird undertones, like they're calling him Big Dick, which is just, it's not good. It's
We
not
also
good
learn
at
at
all.
this point that Dudley has been boxing,
Yes,
and
this is
he's
exactly when we learn that.
like school boxing champ, which is not a thing. Like,
No, not at all.
Schools don't have boxing champs, That's
Especially
crazy.
not middle schools, because they're, 14 now?
And then I think we also learn that the Dursleys have been lying about, I don't remember how we learned this, but I did write down the name of the school that they've been lying that Harry goes to.
Oh, they've said that since book 1.
Have they? The name of the school? Because it is
Yes.
St. Brutus's Secure Center for Incurably Criminal Boys, and I just think
Yes.
that's the craziest name for
Oh, it's absurd.
school.
It's literally a prison. It just sounds like a prison.
It's insane. It's truly insane.
So yeah, you learn that Dudley's apparently lost a bunch of weight due to a mix of dieting and getting really into boxing. So he's still big, but he's a little bit thinner, and now he's even stronger than he was. So he's become just a monster of a human. Harry then goes up to Dudley, and he basically hits him with like a cool, he calls, he's like, "Hey, what's up, Big D?" Which is just great. I love that Harry is doing this. But then he takes it a little too far. He cites all the pet names that Petunia gives him. He's like, "Oh, why don't your friends call you Icky Diddykins or Dinky Diddy Dums?" Which are terrible nicknames, and Harry has every right to make fun of them, but not unprovoked. Like, Harry's being a bit of a dick here.
Yeah.
And then Harry takes this bullying, pestering a little bit farther, and I start, honestly, to take Dudley's side, which is a weird feeling after being told for 4 books that he's just like the worst person. I start to feel bad for Dudley, and while I was reading this, I was like internally conflicted, just thinking, I feel bad for this kid who's supposed to be awful, because Harry is just being super mean and all this other stuff, and Dudley can't do anything because Harry has a wand in his pocket, which is basically a gun.
Yeah, pretty much.
And Dudley references this. He basically says, "You think you're all tough with that wand?" And I agree with that, which makes me even more concerned. They're in a dark alley. They kind of get into like a tuffle where they like slam each other up against the wall. But then Dudley starts fighting back. He's saying, "Oh, you're not so brave at night." He pokes fun at Harry for crying in his sleep. And that's when you learn that Harry apparently has nightmares every single night about Cedric dying, and he cries for Cedric in his sleep.
Yeah, I was definitely with you with like slowly getting on Dudley's side during this argument, and then like that happens, and then you're like, all right, like Harry's going through some pretty dark stuff right now, so I'm not on Harry's side almost immediately.
Yeah, exactly the same for me. I was like, oh man, I feel really bad. And then they're kind of like, yeah, he's basically having flashbacks every single night about, and he's 14. It's like, okay, never mind. I can understand Harry being a little mean.
That was excellent writing because it makes us kind of feel like not on Harry's side. And I was like, oh no, never mind, you're wrong. Not be on Harry's side.
Yeah, touche, J.K. Rowling had me going. So the nightmares have been happening, but Harry didn't know that he was sleep talking. So when Dudley brings this up, Harry can't hide it, and then and then Dudley knows that he's got him. So Harry pulls out the wand, puts him at one point, and Dudley's like, don't do this, blah blah blah. Come on, don't do this. But then the world starts getting dark and everything starts getting cold, which means Dementors. So Harry finally realizes what's going on. But it's too late because Dudley had been telling him like, don't make me hit you, don't make me hit you, blah blah blah. And finally he's had enough. Punches Harry in the face, sends him off of his feet with an uppercut, which is pretty dope. Yeah. And his wand goes flying, but then Dementors starts roughing up Dudley and, all the stuff that comes along with it. And they're about to do the kiss to him. Harry hits it with the Spectre Patronum. It fails 2 times like it always does. And then finally, the 3rd time's the charm, and the stag comes away and like knocks it out.
It's like it gets real intense during that whole thing because Dudley doesn't know what's happening because he can't see Dementors.
Oh right, I didn't even realize that because he can't see it.
And Harry is the one that's like has to like tell us kind of what's happening and also be like, I gotta take care of this, and I don't know how. I hope I could like save this kid that I hate. It gets rough.
It also gets intense for Harry because rather than hearing the cries of his parents as the scary thing that you hear when the Dementors come, he starts hearing Voldemort talking to him. So his fear has switched to Voldemort killing him as opposed to being afraid of what happened to his parents. And Voldemort says, quote, just die. It's easier, I think, though I wouldn't know because I've never died before. So he hears that in his head while he's trying to fight off the Dementors and hit Expecto Patronum.
Now, is that what Voldemort says at the end of book 4, or is this actually Voldemort directly talking to Harry?
This is a new quote. This isn't a quote that was said before, so it must be Voldemort talking to Harry.
That's no good.
Which makes sense based on when you get to the trial all the way in chapter 8, where Dumbledore basically says, "Hey, these are Dementors that Voldemort must have sent," and so then it would make sense if Voldemort was ready for this attack to happen.
That's true. Yeah.
And the other thing that's different is the happy thought that he uses that finally gets the Patronus to work is him hanging out with Ron and Hermione, which wasn't what it was before. So Harry's a changing boy. So Harry runs over Dudley, saves him, and his neighbor runs out, Mrs. Fig, who was mentioned before that Harry's been spending some time over at Mrs. Fig's house during the summer. He tries to like hide his wand and stuff, and she's like, no, keep it out. Like, you don't know if they're gonna come back. And Harry's confused, thinking, wait, hold on, she's a witch? And then she says, oh, I'm going to kill Mundungus Fletcher, which, first off, raises 2 questions. 1, who the hell is that? 2, that's a dope-ass name.
It's a very good name.
And then that's the end of chapter 1. There was a weird thing that was happening in this chapter a lot. J.K. Rowling was very specific about the layout of the streets in the neighborhood, and I just didn't care. Like, do we care about all the roads? Because she was very specific about all of the cross streets, and I don't think it matters.
It felt a lot like the last Hunger Games book in which they get to the capital and are like describing moving through the city, and I'm like, I don't understand what's happening at all. And much like this, I was just like, I mean, they're cross streets and some are parallel to each other. Like I know how streets work generally. I don't need to like draw a map while reading this book.
Yeah, it seemed like she had a Google map in front of her and she's like, everyone will understand this. Like, exactly. Even if we did, we don't care. There's a bunch of stuff that happened here. And while I'm reading this for the podcast, like I take notes, and there was a bunch of times where I would either read 4 or 5 pages or listen to 4 or 5 minutes of the audiobook consistently and not write anything down. Especially when they get to the House of the Order of the Phoenix, there's a bunch of stuff where they're describing all the things they're cleaning for a bunch of pages.
Yeah, I read that last night and I was just like, I feel bad because I should be taking notes, but there's nothing a giant exposition dump. Get ready for that in either later this episode or next episode.
Exactly.
Where we like discuss an exposition dump.
Well, it would just be like house. And then 4 pages later, it's like, they're still cleaning the house. Like, then we get to chapter 2, A Pack of Owls. Mrs. Fig mentions that Fletcher, Mundungus Fletcher, left to see someone about cauldrons that fell off a broom.
I love this. I love this part of Harry Potter that we never get to learn anything more about like the idea of like stereos falling off a truck, but cauldrons falling off a broom. Everything about this image amazes me, and I want to know more about like the like crappy dudes that are like selling cauldrons on like the side of the road by Diagon Alley, and just like moving like, oh yeah, I got this cauldron, and I'll give you 50% off.
Lame crime of the wizarding
Like,
world.
it's just because up until this point, so much of the Harry Potter universe has been like so clean.
Yeah.
You go to the wand shop and get your wand. You go to the robe shop and get your robe. You go to the like nothing has been like. Obviously, there's very dark magics in this world, but we haven't learned anything about like how you get like secret supplies and everything, and we never really get any of that. But we do learn about like back alley cauldrons, which is amazing.
Yeah, like the only evil that you learn about, like the only bad thing, is people murdering people and trying to possess humans and all this other stuff. There's no meddling crimes or like middle ground bad deviousness.
Yeah.
It's just you're either Satan or you go to Hogwarts.
And then we do learn in the next when they go to the ministry later in later chapters that there is just a non-horror like wizard police force, which I don't remember existing at all. Like, I think it's the only time they're mentioned in the entire series. They're like, oh no, like regular wizard cops take care of those things. I was like, they must be looking for this guy with his cauldrons.
I would love a comedy spin-off that follows someone either like a boring-ish job in the wizarding world or a boring-ish criminal. These guys selling back alley cauldrons or regular cop at Hogwarts or at the Ministry of Magic.
I would be really down for like just Brooklyn Nine-Nine, but
with
like,
wizards.
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
Oh, that'd be so good.
Give me that show next year, please.
Yes. So Mrs. Fig mentions she is very thankful that she put Mr. Tibbles on the case of the Dementors. I'm assuming this is some sort of pet. Harry asks if she's a witch. She corrects him, saying that she's a squib, and Fletcher knew that, so it was very foolish of Fletcher to leave her alone because, if this happened, she wouldn't be able to do anything. Fletcher had been following and protecting Harry, so you learn that the disapparating noise he heard was him, and then Dudley is just struggling. He's so shook from the whole Dementor thing. Harry has to basically pick him up, throw him over his shoulder, and walk him home. Fig reveals that Dumbledore tasked her and Mundungus to watch over Harry, but to not tell anyone, not even Harry. And at this point, Mundungus reapparates, and Mrs. Fig just goes apeshit on him, which is, understandable. So he's described as being really straggly looking. He has an invisibility cloak, which is pretty sweet. And she basically keeps like hitting him over the head with a bag of cat food. And she repeatedly either says the phrase, "I'm going to kill Mundungus Fletcher," or "I hope Dumbledore murders you." Like the first 2 times, I get it. But when she says it the 5th time, I'm like, all right, Mrs. Fig, like, let's tone it down a couple notches.
Intense. Real intense on this street.
She explains that people following and keeping Harry safe was only put into effect after the school year, pretty much after Voldemort comes back to being his true form. So Dumbledore tasks some people to watch over him to keep him safe. Harry lugs Dudley all the way home, and Petunia is freaking the fuck out. She wants to know what the hell is going on. Dudley then vomits, which makes her freak out even more. And Dudley, since, as you mentioned before, since he can't see the Dementors, thinks that Harry did all of this. So he tries to put all of the blame on him.
Which, I mean, you can't argue with. You can't really, like, blame Dudley for this one. Like,
yeah, how is he gonna know? So an owl comes through, basically with a nasty gram saying that, you use magic. Same kind of thing when Dobby dropped the pudding.
Getting out of there, sorry, homie.
But this one's way more intense because it says Harry's expelled from Hogwarts and that they're gonna break his wand in half and confiscate, like they're gonna confiscate his wand, break it in half, and game over, you're not a wizard anymore. Thanks for playing our game. We're the Ministry of Magic.
A bit much. A bit much, in my opinion.
Yeah, way too much. So my first thought is like, yeah, right, this is not gonna happen. And when Harry reads the letter, he's like,
I just want to
fuck
hit
this,
14
I'm just gonna
tonight.
run away. And he's about to leave, but another owl comes, and it's from Arthur Weasley. That basically starts with like, don't run away, Harry. Dumbledore's gonna help figure this shit out. Just stay put. we're on it. And then he gets another letter from Sirius that basically says the exact same thing. Vernon is freaking out now because 3 owls have entered his house. And as we've learned from previous books, the only thing that Vernon hates more than Harry is owls bringing stuff to Harry.
I mean, I wouldn't want 3 owls in my house, to be fair.
They do leave really quickly, though.
I don't want to like suddenly start like defending all of the Dursleys because they're garbage. But like, if 3 owls were in my house, regardless of whether or not my nephew is a wizard, that's too many owls.
So Vernon then asks Harry what the hell happened, what is going on, and Harry says it was Dementors, and Vernon's like, what's that? And then Petunia describes what a Dementor is, and then right after kind of like gasps and does a, it's almost like one of those out of body, like wasn't thinking about it, and she's embarrassed that she knows what a Dementor is and started to describe it, and it kind of rubs Vernon the wrong way too, and then he's like, oh well, I only knew this because of my sister and James when they, would talk about this or whatever.
See, there's a very interesting detail that's a spoiler that I won't give you right there.
Okay, good.
That is very fascinating that people who have read the book will notice the thing that Mike just got wrong.
Oh, no.
Which is fascinating because I actually have it in my notes to mention it.
But not spoil it.
And you mentioned it in a way that made it much easier for me to bring up with definitely not causing you any spoilers. So that's very exciting.
The only thing I will say of note is that she goes out of her way to not call James. She says like that wizard, some sort of phrase that like won't call him by name. So the only thing I can think is that there was some bad falling out between Petunia and James.
Yes.
But I'm not exactly sure.
That could be it.
Ooh. Oh man, how fucked up would it be if James had a thing with Petunia and then left her for Lily? That would be so shitty. I hope that's not it. I hope that's not it.
Wouldn't it, Mike and listeners?
I hope it. I really hope that's not it. And if it is it, I hope the reason that he. The worst would be is if they're dating and then he like finds out. Oh no, the worst would be. Here's the worst thing.
Okay, tell me what the worst thing would be.
The absolute worst. She starts as a wizard, becomes a squid, and then he's like, "Fuck that shit! I'm gonna date your sister." that would be the worst thing ever. I really hope that isn't it. Please don't be it. I know James Potter started as Jesus, and like we slowly learn he's like kind of a piece of shit. But I don't want him to be that much of a piece of shit.
You'll find out.
It's okay. I'm really bad at predicting stuff, so I'm probably wrong. Another owl comes in. It's the Ministry of Magic saying that they will have a hearing instead to determine whether or not his wand should be destroyed and whether or not he should be expelled. Basically, they're like, Dumbledore, talk to us. We're gonna have a hearing. Vernon asks, oh, if you're found guilty, what's going to happen? Quote, are they going to give you the death penalty? He said with a hopeful afterthought.
Too much.
I'm sorry. I get that you think your nephew is a little annoying, but you're hopeful that this 15-year-old child gets fucking murdered? It's a bit much.
Yeah, see, this is back when I turned back to Harry's side.
Yeah, I don't like this going back and forth.
Went too far again.
Yeah, it's like just when you have us, just when you bring us in.
You start to feel human.
Absolutely terrible. Vernon demands that Harry tells him what happened, so he does. And this is when the 4th owl comes in, and this is a letter from Sirius saying the same thing as Arthur said, basically, don't leave, it's gonna be fine, just stay in the house, you'll be safe. But when Harry receives this letter, he gets mad that no one's congratulated him yet for beating the Dementors. His first thought is like, no one said good job. He's such a diva. I can't deal with it. He's too much. There is a funny thing. Vernon keeps calling the Dementors the wrong name. Like he calls them like Dementoids and Demembers and Dismembers. And I laughed every single time.
They were pretty good. They're all
it was pretty good. So Harry's then trying to figure out why would they come, and the only thing he can think of is like, it's got to be Voldemort, which is true. And this is also my thought process. Anytime anything bad happens, it's like, oh, this mean, scary thing happened, and I'm sitting there reading the book, I'm like, well, it's got to be Voldemort, which is like you're never wrong. Like you can't ever be wrong if the guess is like, oh, bad shit went down. Probably Voldemort.
Although, I mean, later on in this book, I guess, I mean, it's the same kind of bad shit that isn't Voldemort that's always not Voldemort in the book. It's a defense against the dark arts teacher, which is the other person that does that.
Books. And sometimes it is Voldemort just hanging out in their turban.
That's true. Sometimes it's both.
Petunia begins to kind of feel bad and scared for Harry when he mentions that Voldemort is back, because at one point Harry's like, Voldemort sent them, and Vernon's like, he's not here anymore. And then Harry says, he's back, and Petunia kind of is like, oh, that sucks. So we're learning more and more that Petunia is more familiar with the wizarding world, which makes me think she was like somewhat more involved than just, I found out my sister was a wizard and then I immediately disowned her. So there's something more there. Vernon tries to kick Harry out. He's like, I've had enough. You're getting out of here. And Harry can't leave because a million people told him to stay. A fifth owl then comes in, and it's addressed to Petunia. And it's not just a letter, it's a growler. And when she opens it, it just says, remember my last, Petunia, and then disappears. And it's ominous and terrifying, and probably from Dumbledore, but who
I
knows?
honestly don't remember. Like, I
okay.
really don't. So I'm like, remember my last. Like,
And Harry tries to figure out what it is.
it's very similar to a note in Deathly Hallows, but I don't think they're related in any way.
Okay. The only thing I can think is that remember my last might be the last time he sent a howler to her, and it could have just berated her because maybe she did something that got Lily in trouble or got Lily exposed or whatever. But the only thing I'm confident guessing here is that it's from Dumbledore. I have no idea what the context is or anything like that. And that's the end of the chapter because they send Harry to bed, and that's it.
Hey, let's take a quick break to hear a word from our sponsors who make this show possible.
Supporting for only a
Carmack out 3 to market.
A sassy letter to
I love this letter.
to Sirius, Ron, and Hermione. All 3 of them, same letter. Basically, he's like, what the hell is going on? Tell me what's happening. I need to know. I'm Harry Potter. And he writes it, and while he's in the house, every time he passes a window, he gets mad because it reminds him of what happened. So he literally talks about like getting upset every time he sees a window. Just like, oh my God, Harry, get over it.
Which I mean is probably pretty often since like he's in one bedroom with a window. So like it's pretty much constant.
Every time he opens his eyes, he's like, oh, son of a bitch.
I do love that when he sends the letters, he tells Hedwig, don't come back without a response and peck at them until they give you one.
Yes, well, it's not only is it peck them until they give you one, but it's peck at them until what they've written is long enough. Yeah. Like, if it's not long enough, you keep pecking them until they write
Which
enough.
I think is a really good service that, like, somehow Google can, like, algorithmically, like, solve in Gmail, where it's like, not only do I demand a response from you, but Google will, like, read this email and make sure that it is a good enough email. Like, that this responds to every point that I sent you. I want a good-ass response, and I will accept nothing less.
Yeah, it's same thing with text messages. It's like, this is a text message you can't reply K to.
Exactly.
That is not acceptable. Yeah. Or not like thumbs up emoji. Like, we're going to need some words, potentially some commas and periods. We need some substance to this response.
She also describes Harry at this point as in one of his apathetic phases.
Okay.
Which I feel like one of his apathetic phases is like most of the time. I feel like most of the time Harry is far too chill for the events going on around him until like shit really hits the fan, and then he's like, I gotta wake up and start doing something.
Yeah, like there's so many examples of it, but even like the mermaid task from the last book, he just like keeps procrastinating, like I'll figure out the egg clue later. It's like, no, dude, you could die if you don't figure out what's going on. So he's very chill. Harry also like treats Hedwig poorly here, which makes me take the side of Hedwig, and I've been staunchly on not team Hedwig because I think she's just over the top sassy, but I start to feel bad even for her because when she flies in finally after like getting food outside, like she's eating a frog, Harry's like, oh, about time, and then when he writes the letter, he's like, that'll do, go, like he's being super mean to Hedwig too. Harry's just being a piece of shit. He needs to take a chill pill and like count to 10 and realize that he's gonna be okay. And just tough it up. Harry, after he sends out the letters, the only thing that can make him happy enough to go to bed, he's like, well, I'll have 3 lengthy letters to wake up to tomorrow. And then he goes to bed. He wakes up the next day, doesn't have any letters, and he's like, what the fuck? And decides that he's not gonna leave his room for 4 days straight because he doesn't receive letters back.
I like the idea, based on like your interpretation of this scene. I like I've always wanted like the Harry Potter series to have a bit more like teen comedy movie feel to them. And I just imagine like Harry like sitting up, not getting the letters, saying what the fuck, just like you did, and like just starts playing, and it's just one of those songs that was like always in like those mid 2000s like teen comedies.
Yes.
And that's like the Harry Potter I really want made. Like when they remake it, I want it
Need to
not
kill a
be,
few
like,
things and
more
hit 14
serious, more
before I
dark
get to
Harry Potter.
Thunderblock.
I want it to be like a way
How much do I
lighter
need?
teen comedy a la like
625.
Euro Trip American Pie.
Oh.
Give me that like
God.
7 movie
420.
series where it's just super hilarious.
Oh my goodness. There's so many turns that you can do Harry Potter. It would be great. So on the 4th day, Vernon announces to Harry that him, Petunia, and Dudley are going out. He's like, we're going to leave. Don't touch anything, etc. And Harry just keeps replying, fine, okay, yeah. Vernon's like, don't touch the TV. Okay. Don't eat any food. Okay. Don't leave your room. Okay. Harry's just so fed up, doesn't want to deal with anything. Harry then hears a crack in the living room and some voices. And at first, Harry thinks, oh, burglars. Like he didn't hear the same noise when it was apparating 2 chapters ago. But then he realizes, oh wait, no, it's probably wizards because they're talking a bunch. Burglars would be quiet. So he goes downstairs and there's a bunch of wizards and there's a bunch he doesn't recognize. And the first one that's described, so you see Lupin is there.
The best.
You see that the real Moody is there, which is exciting. And then you get introduced to Tonks, which is everyone apparently's favorite character. Everyone's like, oh, you're
Pretty
gonna...
great. She's pretty great.
I'm excited. Tonks seems fantastic. Everyone on Twitter, when I said I was reading book 5, everyone's like, oh my god, you're gonna meet my favorite character. And it's Tonks. So Tonks is described as having violently purple hair, which is the second time in this book series that the color purple has been described as violent. And I love it. This is the second time the phrase violently purple has been up there. And I'm a fan. So there's a bunch of other wizards that they describe, and then later on you'll learn their names. Lupin asks what Harry's Patronus is, because they have to make sure that it's Harry and not someone pretending to be Harry. So he describes that it's a stag, and then Lupin's like, good enough for me, which I feel like if someone was pretending to be Harry, they would know that, right? I feel like they picked a bad question.
Well, where has he used the stag? He's used it at the pond.
Uh-huh.
I don't remember where. Does he use it at all in book 4?
He uses it in the classroom, and then, but only Lupin is there. And then, yeah, at the Quidditch match, it doesn't actually take the form when it was Crabbe Goyle and Malfoy. It wasn't actually full stag. So I guess you're right. The only people who have seen it in full stag mode are the squad and Lupin. So, okay, I guess it is a valid question to ask. So real Moody, you learn, is very paranoid. Harry puts his wand in his back pocket, and Moody's like, don't do that. You can't put it there. A, it could go off in your pocket, or B, it could get stolen. And a couple of the other wizards respond, oh, you know, don't be so difficult, Moody. Don't be such a worrywart. It's like, yo, didn't you guys read book 4 when his wand got stolen out of his back pocket, and then the whole book happened? I like, putting things in your back pocket is a terrible idea. Note to everyone, never put your wallet in your back pocket. That's horrible. Never, ever, ever. So Moody telling him like, hey, put your wand in your front pocket or not back there, and everyone being like, oh, don't be such a buzzkill. It's like, dude, the whole 4th book was because Harry put his wand in his back pocket.
I do like that, like, the real Moody is just like, if you like swap like book 4's Moody, like imposter, like his like weird quirkiness, and just like switch that for like the same amount of just paranoia. And you essentially, because no other character traits really seem to change. Like, he's just as paranoid as the like fake Moody is like a quirky weirdo.
Yeah, but I do like real Moody better. As you learn more about Moody, he's way better. And I liked fake Moody in book 4. I'm quoted as saying in episodes of this podcast, like, oh man, I really like Moody. It's a shame he's gonna go away at the end of this episode, or at the end of this book. And then I learned later that he's Barty Crouch Jr. and not Ludo Bagman. I was so convinced. I think
at the time we're recording this, I think that's the last episode that has come out, and I was just like, not even close. Not even. And you were so sure of it.
At the time of recording this, the last episode to go out is the second with Rosiana, where I said, I don't know who it is, but it's either Bagman or Crouch, and it can't be anybody else.
Not a chance.
And then like the next episodes, I'm like, it's gotta be Bagman and no one else. And then finally the episodes of Sydney, I'm like, oh god, I made a huge mistake. I love when I'm wrong at predicting shit. It's my favorite.
it's so easy because there's so much stuff to predict in these books.
Yeah, and I think I'm so smart where I'm like, oh, I'm totally gonna get it because I was right for the first 2 books.
I haven't reread like book 1, so I don't know how obvious it is. Quirrell.
It's just a long episode of Scooby-Doo. It's got the classic. He's the first person you meet. He acts sketchy the whole time. Like, there's a red herring, which is Snape. It falls formulaically perfect. Tonks reveals that the lie that they used to get the Dursleys out of the house was a fake invitation to quote the All England Best Kept Lawn competition. Which I love just the phrase of All England Best Kept Lawn because I'm a huge basketball fan and one of the highest honors is to be named on an All NBA team. So either like first team All NBA, first team All Defense. So when it's like first team All Best Lawn, I think it's just so good. So you learn that Tonks not only has dope ass hair, but she can change it at any time she wants because she's a metamorph magus and she can just change her appearance however she wants, willy-nilly. And then, after learning this, you meet some of the other crew. So there's Kingsley Shacklebolt, which is an amazing name.
One of my favorite names.
I think the best name. I can't think of a better one.
I think it is. Like, every time I say it, I go, that's a good one. That's a really good name.
Sirius Black is good. Remus Lupin is good because of what it means, because Lupin is Latin for wolf, and Remus, I forget what Remus is for. Kingsley Shacklebolt just sounds dope. Like, that is a powerful
He's an
name.
aura, too, so he, like, is dope on top of it.
And then you later learn of that his job in the ministry is also hilarious.
Yes.
So, in addition, you've got Dolge, Diggle, Vance, Podmore, and Jones. I don't know if these people become important, but they were all volunteers to go save Harry. They are known as his guard. Then they decide that they're going to leave. Tonks uses a bunch of spells to like clean the room that Harry had and pack up his stuff, all these other things. They're using a lot of spells that haven't been discussed. They're nothing profound, such as the packing spell or the clean room spell or anything like that. But it is kind of cool to see these very advanced wizards because these are not only are they full adult wizards that should know every spell, but also there's a mix of aurors and high profile wizards. And it's kind of to the point where a lot of these things are just secondhand magic to them. And it was kind of cool to see, for me, a full wizard just kind of go to town. Whereas Harry has to specifically like read books to know how to do hexes and other things such as that.
And then on the other hand, you have Arthur Weasley, who I took note to spend some time laughing at a potato peeler, which I think when I wrote down, I imagine like one that you just hold in one hand and hold the potato.
Yes.
But are there like potato peelers that you can like put like an apple peeler where it'll like twist around the potato? Because
I've never seen that.
Because that would be a bit sillier. But if it's just a regular potato peeler, that's not a funny object.
No, it's just like a funny shaped knife with
Arthur,
plastic covering.
You gotta get your shit together because
Arthur
it's not that
Weasley's-
funny.
His muggle thing is weird. He's a strange man. Before they leave, Real Moody, uses a disillusionment charm on Harry to conceal him, which is basically kind of like an invisibility cloak, but instead of making him invisible, it just makes him a perfect chameleon. And basically the reason that they did this was because an invisibility cloak would fly off of him because the way that they're getting to headquarters is by broom. So they see the signal given at the safe house, which is red sparks followed by green sparks. That's their cue to leave. So they go, and once Harry starts flying, all of his troubles go away. He feels great. He feels the rush of being with wizards and doing magic again. So we finally get a brief stint of happy Harry. Now, to avoid muggles seeing them, they have to fly way the fuck up into the sky. And because of that, they're flying through clouds. They're really high up. They're all freezing. Like, everyone is just freezing to death. Harry keeps mentioning that it's the worst thing he's flown in since that terrible rainy Quidditch match where the Dementors came. All kind of stuff like that.
I think they mention it very briefly in the book that if they go through the clouds, they get soaked.
Yes.
And if I remember correctly in the movie, when they go through the clouds, they actually wind up on the other side looking like they just jumped out of a pool.
Oh, nice.
I could be wrong about that, but it's a really nice detail if I'm remembering.
Alright, I'm done
I
now.
hope so. That would be a great
Thank God.
detail. So then the
Peace,
best
you guys.
thing happens
Have a good day.
is that